Um, welcome on. I see a few people are still joining. So welcome. This is both the weekly usability meeting for November 19th, 2021, the Drupal usability meeting, I should say. And it's also a session at NedCamp. So it's going to be a little unusual for both of those. The weekly meeting, we usually spend the first several minutes discussing what to talk about, and anyone who's present at the meeting is willing to bring up an issue they'd like to talk about, even if it's your first time joining. And as a session at NedCamp, most sessions are 45 minutes, and you need the NedCamp password to get in. This will be a full hour. And the link I provide doesn't require any password. I'm Benji Fisher, moderating the meeting, and I'll probably share my screen unless someone else wants to. And also present, I see Chris Sioni, Aaron McHale, Antonia, Christina Chumias, Donna Bungard, Ralph Kohler, and Thomas Howell. So thank you all for coming. One more time, are there any issues that people would like to bring up?
Benji, I have something that I could add. Currently work for a healthcare company, and we're undergoing a redesign and upgrade from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9 for our intranet. And we find that wherever we have sort of areas where we want folks to search through news or department sites or various areas of the intranet, that they're not utilizing search filters that we have on like a left-hand sidebar. And I just wanted to, talk about why folks might miss that aspect of the page. And because we get complaints about wading through, or people having difficulties wading through the 200 plus department areas of our intranet. And so I don't know if this is the place for it, but I feel like that's been an ongoing problem for us when we design our sites. So
sure, that's something we could talk about. As I said, there's no real agenda. We often talk about issues that for Drupal core that are waiting for usability review. We sometimes talk about improvements we'd like to see made in Drupal's usability. But do you think you could share your screen and show us what you're talking about?
Sure.
And I guess while you're getting that set up, I should point out that for the regular attendees, none of us is a certified usability expert. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what we do have is a variety of backgrounds. We have front-end and back-end developers. We have designers and site builders. And I think that diversity is really valuable for discussing usability. It's hard for any one person, even if they are a certified usability expert, it's hard for any one person to really understand the needs of a diverse group of users. And the more of us we have and the more different backgrounds we represent, the better shape we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. I will do a share screen here. So basically, we have a variety of policies, company policies here. And we have a filtering system where, folks they start with a master list here, and they're able to filter by, say, a hospital location, and find that there's quite a few problems. People don't really know to stay on this left-hand sidebar. And then they have difficulties with using, sometimes they even miss the search on the sidebar completely. And in moving to the next version of the site, we kind of ended up bringing a lot of what was here to the center of the page. And we don't know why we get that feedback. We get the feedback in various areas of the site. And the people using this would be anybody from a nurse to a a secretary, or even in some cases a doctor. And that we often get the complaint that there's just too many clicks to find what they're looking for, and we always have to remind them that they have filters, and they just seem to be frustrated. So.
What kind of devices are they looking at this from?
So we don't have this intranet available on mobile because for security reasons. So it's mostly desktop, and they're using Edge, Edge browser.
Okay.
Are you currently using Edge?
Oh,
I guess
no,
you
I'm gonna
probably
Mac.
are.
Yeah. When you're on Edge, are you able to, actually, do you have any sense of the screen they're using? Most doctor's office I know have a really wide screen, right?
Yeah, so that's a problem that we've encountered. I think it's a small square screen. I'm not sure the exact dimensions, but it's definitely not like a wide monitor. Throughout the hospital system, it's like sort of an old-fashioned square format.
Could you maybe narrow down the browser window now, please, to see?
Sure. Let's see here.
Yeah, there's a thing you can get called browser with, if that's a Chrome you're on. Can't tell.
Yeah. Let's see here.
And out of curiosity, the search, you have two search fields, one on the top right and the other in the sidebar for the desktop screen size. Are they the same field, or have they different scopes?
No, so this one is the global search for the intranet, and then the search within the left-hand sidebar is for the particular area that they're in. In this case, the department areas. So it is possible that they're mistaking the global search, or they're using. We do find that when we have a collection of content like our policies, that some folks would use the global search, and it's not really optimized for the policies. So they kind of get a mishmash of results. So we actually thought about the next version of the site suppressing the policies from the global search to prevent that confusion. But
another idea might be you have the default inside the search field, like search, the label, but you might enter search for policies, for example, for the search field in the sidebar. So it's clear inside the field that what the field is searching in, or the scope.
So is this the size they're looking at it, you think?
yes, I would say that this is what they're
Okay.
seeing.
Do you know if these meet color contrast? If these are older machines and a high glare fluorescent thing, even if somebody doesn't have visual challenges, some of this light gray information or all caps or all this might in the light blue there, it might not be standing out to them visually. So only the larger text to the right might be standing out.
Yep.
Sure.
If we think about that overall experience outside of the like when we're talking about user experience, we're also looking outside of the programmatic piece of the kind of the psychology of the situation. So older, square, small monitors without great contrast in a fluorescent building that might create additional glare with people who are generally savvy in areas outside of the web, or more so, than say anyone in our industry. You're going to have a lot of potential barriers. And I'm seeing a light blue small text on the side. And then filter by keyword might not be really, that's totally normal for our jargon, but I don't know if that's necessarily the concept of filtering it is to them. Maybe something like narrow down your search, or, refine by location. Using terminology and words that your audience is more likely to use with bolder information. And this is all off the cuff, but this is a lot of what I'm seeing when I see this. I'm seeing a lot of potential usability challenges in the fact that this is definitely more geared towards, that kind of search is more geared to one of us who are like living in this stuff all the time, I think, than a lot of the individuals I've met over the years, who I'll just, and I'm from, New Hampshire, and I don't know if this is just a regional thing, but when I've gone to doctors' offices, 99% of the people who are looking at this, and friends I've known who have been in this industry, are all women between the ages of 30 and 60. And there are women who have been focused on other areas, more interested in the medical, into that science than that way, as opposed to the technology. So I think you would need to change the verbiage to something a little bit more human oriented than technology oriented. And this is, again, all off the cuff. So you're welcome to tell me I don't get it.
Oh, not at all. And yeah, it's been, I think deciding on sort of buckets for either filters or some sort of visual narrowing down of the content has been a challenge for us too, because there are certain areas of the intranet that are sort of service oriented, and then there are some which are like department sites for, with contact information and etc. And the buckets we choose mean something to, I'm in the marketing department, and it's the terminology means something to us, but it doesn't mean anything to the folks using the intranet that are in that group that you mentioned. So then we kind of end up being left with, do it by where, the site that you're on, or the affiliate within the health system that you work for. And it just becomes a lot. So what we ended up doing was trying to cut up the content in a different way to provide less results. So if we just have an alphabetical, list, we have like 200 departments.
Yeah, that's too many.
It's so much, and it just becomes frustrating. So what we ended up doing was, as a sort of a way to address this, is we created separate little affiliate areas. And within these areas, you'll have like a custom URL with the sort for department sites pre-sorted. So, okay, this is a bad example, but
It's okay.
So-
I
so
get
if
what you're
peop-
saying.
If people
yeah.
get to these sites, do they have more success in finding what they want?
So the issue we have currently is because we kind of located these little affiliate sites here, most people miss them. So I think in Drupal 9, we'll be making this area more apparent in the main nav, as sort of a way to get people away from going to the general department sites area, and more saying, okay, I'm from this affiliate. If I need to search through department sites at Rhode Island Hospital, they're going to get by default fewer results. So yeah.
So it sounds, honestly, it sounds to me a little bit more like this is a content strategy question than a usability question at this point. Because what you are needing to really break down, and from my perspective, is what are the goals, who are the, basic, who are the personas, what are each persona's goals, what are their pain points? And then figure out some common vocabulary, or even establish a common vocabulary within the culture to help navigate the area. Because if you have this larger group, just using simpler terms is going to probably be your best bet. Like department sites, I actually think is pretty clear in that regard.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe that's not, maybe it needs to be more of that personal experience of your department. And people, oh, that's where I go to find my department, not a department site. And then I go in here and, oh, instead of locations of where are you?
Okay,
what location
I'd
are
like
you
to
at?
ask a few questions if I can. Can you go back to the main page you started on?
Yes.
And so there are a lot of choices here for navigation. You've got that black bar at the top, and then you have these tabs, and then you have the searches in the left. So are these filters only for the department sites, or do they apply also to some of the other parts of the site?
So this would only be for department sites. And then, yeah, as you move through, like if you go to news and events, same thing, same kind of filters, but it would be for only that particular area.
So one suggestion is that some of the questions Donna started with, really the best way to answer them is by doing some usability testing, by watching people and recording people as they navigate through the site. And then you'll know what size screen they have and what it looks like to them. But one possibility is if this alphabetical list with 200 things on it is too long to be useful, then don't show it. And instead start with a screen where you have these filters. In fact, can you make your screen a little narrower so we can see the way it was
Yes.
when the filters were collapsed? I guess
Yeah.
even narrower than that.
Yeah.
If you want to sort of guide people, then when you first visit this screen, can you go to the top and expand the filter by keyword? Start with a screen with one of these filter areas expanded and let people type something in there. And then once they've selected something there, expand the next one and give them a default option where it'll show all locations, but if they choose to, they can narrow it down. And basically give people fewer options and don't show the list until it's been narrowed down to something useful.
Yeah, absolutely. We are planning to do that for a couple areas of the site. In fact, we were losing people in some cases when they were coming to an area like this. The default list was overwhelming them. So the fact that they could see something without starting off a search was actually a negative. We were thinking of it like, hey, here's the full bucket, and then please filter down to find what you want. But we find that people aren't, that's not the way to go for us. So yeah, I think we came to that conclusion for sure. But yeah, there's and we did do recordings with folks and kind of what their pain points were and that sort of thing. It's just, there's so many different job roles and points of view, being a large company, that it's it's been tricky, but yeah.
Yeah, I
appreciate it.
I see Aaron is unmuted. And also I should invite people, if you're more comfortable or if it's easier for you to type rather than talk, I do keep an eye on the chat window. If you put anything in there, I'll read it out for you. Aaron, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think this is quite interesting, and I broadly agree with everything that's been said. You know, I work in a large historic university, and so we have a lot of different audiences and a lot of students looking for different pieces of content. But what we find is when we apply proper sort of content strategy and proper information architecture, we can design or content design sites that are effective for a lot of people. So I really feel like this site would benefit from stronger sort of it kind of has been said, like stronger content information architecture, stronger sort of content design work, because I think you can find a path if you look at what those key groups of people are and the information they're trying to find, even if you've got a lot of people, if you were to start to tailor it for those personas. For instance, at the university I work at, we're looking at right now when you go to the site, if you're looking for a particular degree program, or the way you find that is very generic. So we're looking at trying to you know, maybe make that more persona based. So for instance, if you're a prospective student versus if you're a current student, how you get there and information you find is a different, you know, there's maybe a different journey you take there. So yeah, I would say that's probably there's a bit of usability here, but also, as has been said, there's probably quite a bit of content strategy that could be done here.
Sure. And do you find that giving multiple paths to the same content is an effective strategy? So for instance, you know, you have this ability to come to the general bucket of every sort of department, but then also you have an affiliate site for every one of these options. And then within these options, you have, you know, the various areas that are whittled down based on the affiliate here. Do you think that's a negative? Should we force them a little more to kind of follow the path that we want them to take, or is sort of slicing up the content in a number of ways helpful?
The goal in content, I'm sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
No, so I was just going to say, I think you know, one of the things I noticed quite quickly is that, for instance, you know, you've got a lot of pages that are, it feels like they're trying to cater to everybody, but by doing so, they sort of serve nobody. Like this, you know, department site. If I was a doctor looking for specific policy or information, like it might be hard to find that information if I start on, say that, you know, if there's multiple routes to that content, and I might end up down the wrong path and it might take me longer, and therefore I might get more frustrated. You know, so I from what I've seen, that can, you know, it can work, but it's a, you know, it really comes down to if you have a, you know, you need a strong content strategy and understanding the people that the content is there to serve.
Yeah, the goal behind content strategy is really kind of make the user the hero of their own story. You're there to guide them, but you're not there to force them down a path. They have to be the hero of their story. And whether that's hero accomplishes, you know, buying a pair of socks on Amazon or finding the right information on in your intranet, they're going to take whatever path they take. We can't force them, but we can guide them and make it easier and give them clues to find their way easier. So to have multiple paths to the same location, that's fine, but you do have to speak in a consistent way and in a tone that's going to kind of cross some barriers. So for example, if your usability testing is finding off people are always getting 3/4 of the way, but falling off, well, then you really can't force them to take that path. You need to reevaluate, where do they think they're going? What words are used there? And how can I adapt either the language of what I'm doing, or how can I adapt calls to action or buttons or other pieces of that puzzle to better direct them to where I want them to go. Does that make sense?
Does, thank you.
It's like every website's a choose your own adventure book, like we all read as little kids, or maybe I'm just a geek, but it really is. Every website's a choose your own adventure book. And the authors of those books had to understand, that if somebody keeps having to switch to page 13 and dying on page 14, they're going to have a very short experience with the book. But if they could keep going back and forth, it would be a much more engaging adventure for that reader. It's the same idea here. We're still trying to get them to the page, the last page in the book and the happy ending or what have you. But we need to give them multiple ways to get there. And if they're getting off track, or if this is an A or B situation, you need to make those pathways really clear.
Sure thing.
Okay, we're about halfway through the time. And I think we might want to move on to a different issue. So thanks, Chris, for bringing that up. And I see that Jim Birch has also joined us. I know Jim had an issue that he wanted us to look at a few weeks ago. Are you interested in talking about that today? You're muted if you're trying to talk.
Nope, not ready yet. Just came to listen and learn from you fine folks.
Okay. And I guess the only suggestion I've heard is to resume the discussion we were having last week. So maybe I'll share my screen unless Ralph or Aaron, would one of you like to?
I'm not in a position to share my screen currently as I'm working off my laptop. That's, if I was working off my large screens, I would be better, but not right now.
Okay, let me just see if I can find the right window. Here we go.
Yeah, I think because we now have might be good to resume the discussion at least, because we now have the whole bunch of issues sprawling, sort of coming off of the meta issues. So we've organized it a bit from last week.
Right, so let's see. Let me see if I can find some links. Yes, here we go. So this is the issue that we started with. For the sake of the recording, it's 2860419. The appearance page is too long and confusing. We converted that to a meta issue and created several child issues. And there's already been some interest on several of these. Oh, thank you, Ralph. You posted the link into the Zoom chat. So the first one that there's been some action on is 3249370, move the active default and admin theme to a new section at the top of the appearance page. So I guess we already have a patch on this issue, but it needs work. So instead of the usual, here I'll open the before and afters screenshots. I think this is still a mock-up, not an actual live site, but the usual way we have it is that we list all of the installed themes, and we have in parentheses the default theme and admin theme are listed, and the proposal is to have the default theme at the top left and the admin theme at the top right. So does anyone know what needs to be done next on this issue?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we could probably, if we were to get one thing done today in terms of this, the biggest thing would be to figure out exactly, well, maybe what the best, because this is fine if you've got a separate admin theme and a separate default theme, but we're kind of at a complicated position is how does this behave when you have the same theme as the admin and default theme? And so I think that's probably, if we could figure one thing out today from this, that would probably be the thing that would move this on most, I think.
Yep. agree.
Yeah, so I think some options are to list the same theme twice, and I think that's actually what this screenshot is doing. Ralph added this.
Yeah, I just wanted to visualize the point that people can imagine how it looks if the same theme is applied. And that's a screenshot from install with the patch. That is not a mock-up anymore. That's an actual
Okay, good to know.
screenshot from inside.
And so this is one option, maybe not a very popular option, but if the Claro theme is used both as the default theme and the admin theme, then show the card for the Claro theme twice. And then show all the other themes below that. A second option, I guess, is to have, if I understand correctly, to have the card just once, but spanning the entire width of the window, so making it twice as wide. And the suggestion I made was, in this case, instead of showing the card a second time for the admin theme, just to have a simple text card saying same as default theme. But it would be great to have some additional options or clarification on some of these. Christina, did you want to say something?
Yeah, probably not a popular opinion, but I think we're jumping into design slam right now with this conversation. And I'm not really sure, as I said the other week, if designing in committee, UX call is the smartest solution, because basically, yes, on a design perspective, joining the two cards will be the best solution. But that obviously jumps into the design of the card itself, which is actually another issue that needs design, because it needs several conversations, like which information is shown, how it is shown, and all these things. So as I'm saying, this is a design conversation, or this is a design. So I think we should be clear on what needs to be shown. And then from there, it could be more a designer that could decide which is the way, because I would probably right now, without actually even trying, I would say, probably I would join it in one card, and this card would probably have two labels that would say admin theme and design theme. And on the same card, you can see that it's using both. So you wouldn't need the title in there. And at the same time, I would say, probably the most important things here, it's the default theme and the admin theme, even if it's just one or it's the two of them as a separated themes. They are the most important ones. So I will show both the installed themes and even the uninstalled themes as smaller items. So that could mean that we have to get rid of the separator line. We probably need to get rid of the titles, or they need to be shown different. We need other designs for the cards. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up and let you continue or express your thoughts.
Okay, so let me just briefly say that, as Christina said, there is another issue to redesign the individual cards. It's 3249374, redesign the cards for the appearance page. An important part of the suggestion is to simplify that title region in this screenshot, instead of having all of this information in parentheses and the version number, just have the name at the top. So Christina, do you think that the issue of the layout should be postponed on the design of the cards?
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, that's. I don't want to block anything. The problem is that if we, for example, move this information, the default theme or admin theme information into a label, can you switch the tab to the other issue, the card design? Yeah. So yeah, it is showing like different cards here. And maybe we can use the idea of using a card as a label or a badge or I don't know, a tire or something on the card itself to express more information without titles. So then, yes, that will imply that this badge needs to be modified later. But I think this is already an improvement. So what I would suggest is defining what needs to be done here on a UX perspective. Like it's a really good improvement that we are separating the default and admin theme, since they are the most important ones. I'm gonna shut up in like 1 minute, Ralph. We want to be clear what's the most important thing. And I think this is already, without touching the cards, this new layout is already better than what we had. So I think as an MVP, this is a really good thing. And then it can be improved in a follow-up issue. And we don't have to fix everything, because then we end up with these dependencies between issues, because one needs design and this needs to be fixed and it's blocked on a designer solving this. So I think this is already a good solution without jumping into the design and joining cards, because this is can come after on a follow-up issue, if we join or not the cards at the top.
Okay.
And that's all.
Ralph, I see you've raised your hand.
Yep. I would have a question to the group in regards of the card issue, because Sasha replied on the issue in the about the detail of the sub-theme label, and he said basically that's a true point is that basically everything is a sub-theme, because if you take into consideration classy and I guess it's stable, the other one, basically everything is based on a base theme. But the basic idea I still think is viable and important is the point, if you have a site builder or a themer getting new into a project, or if you get after a few weeks back into a project and get on the theme page, on the appearance page, and to have a clear visual feedback to see first that the active theme in regards of the admin theme is, for example, a sub theme, and then you get the dependency chain. In that case, only Claro, but for Chin. But if you have, for example, agency website, agency who has the base theme, which is dependent on, for example, SERP Foundation. I made the example, and that SERP Foundation is for a particular site. Again, the base theme. So you have a chain, and that would be still variable, and maybe as a requirement or a condition for that sub-theme label, would it be possible, because classy and stable have the key value pair hidden true, and to exclude those as a condition for the sub-theme label and just make the requirement those themes visible to the user be taken into consideration for that label. Would that make sense? I haven't wrote up the answer to the issue yet, but just wanted to ask everyone here.
I think that sounds like a sensible approach, actually. I was thinking of something similar in that we can be pretty, it's pretty clear in 99% of case that, themes are eventually either going to inherit from classy or stable 9, whatever it is. And it actually, in some cases, I think has classy sort of been replaced by a starter kit. I'm not done theming for a while, so I can't remember what's happened, but I think I like your suggestion actually. If there's a sub theme label, only show it if the base theme is actually visible there, because then it's kind of it's almost a useless piece of information. But then I guess, is just saying something as a sub theme, is that a useful piece of information? Unless, because it's unless we say what the sub theme is.
Yeah, but that was the idea, for example, with the requires line, that you have in that case requires Claro or requires main theme, and then an arrow to a sub foundation, then an arrow to current active theme, so that you get more or less a list of themes that theme is depending on with one view. And with
I guess it's not clear to me why it's so important to know that something is a sub theme. I think putting the requirements on the card is fine, but I don't see why it needs such emphasis.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's like we don't display that hierarchy for modules, and there's far more dependencies going on there. So if we don't do it for modules, like I think displaying what the requirements are, yeah, that's a good idea. Like requires Claro for Gin, like fine. But I don't think we need to go any further than that, because it's at that point it's not useful information other than to say one requires the other.
Yeah, but in regards of themes, it was the point was made that in case of CSS and the cascade, if several themes are taken into the mix in that regard, and as a themer who told me, he said it is sometimes useful to know, hey, there was, for example, sub foundation or even the base theme of sub foundation, where also CSS might be in place, which might get overwritten or causes trouble upstream.
Okay,
so it's not so important for the site administrator, but it is important for the themer. I still think that adding the information to the card is enough. I'm not sure that we need a badge to highlight the fact.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you consider the audience of this page is site builders, administrators, like if you're a theme developer, you're in the code anyway, you're building a theme, you're using debugging tools, like this isn't the place for you to go in, and you wouldn't go here to debug where the theme is inheriting things from. Like this page is for installing a theme for administrators, site builders. So yeah, I'd agree with what Benji said there.
Okay. Yeah.
Antonia, you unmuted yourself a couple of minutes ago. Did you want to say something?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm not a fan of the idea of stretching the card over the whole width of the screen. That's just not nice. But yes, I agree with everything Christina said.
Okay. I also think that to move this issue forward, the redesign of cards, the first step should be providing the more granular information to the template. I guess I haven't looked at how it's currently implemented, but here we go. But I'm guessing that this entire title with the stuff in the parentheses is provided to the Twig template. And if we split that apart into several pieces, the name, the version, the flags on whether it's default or experimental, then the themes can decide what to do with that. So I think that to move the issue along, we should be designing for the Stark theme and provide that information to the template, implement that template for for core. And so if you're looking at it with the Stark theme, then you know you're not going to have these colorful badges. You're just going to be presenting the information as text next to the screenshot. And then open follow-up issues for the Claro and 7 themes, how they're going to use this new information in their implementation of the templates.
Yeah, I was thinking something similar in that I think there's actually, I think this issue needs to be further broken out, as you said, into multiple issues, because we just those little colorful cards, or not cards, those little, what do we call
Badges.
those? Like badges. There you go. That to me feels like an issue in itself. So yeah, we definitely probably want to rescope the current issue and then split out additional issues as required. Because yeah, just getting the information separated out from the title is in itself an issue, I think.
So as for what to do when the default and admin themes are consistent, so certainly Christina has a point that this is a design question, not a usability question. And on the other hand, design by committee might not work too well, but I think that a meeting like this with a lot of people present is a good place to do some brainstorming to come up with some ideas. We won't come up with a final design in a committee, but someone might come up with something we haven't thought about that might work well.
I have a sort of idea similar to what was said in that, so if it's the same theme, instead of, so don't stretch the card, so there would only be one card on the top row, and then just have the title be something like the heading level be something like default and admin theme. Immediately I can see a problem in that we have then an inconsistent heading. So maybe that's not a good idea, but I would agree that we shouldn't be stretching the card. So maybe there's a solution, but again, maybe it's not a solution.
There's also a screenshot for a stretched card for a single one in the issue.
In this issue?
Yep. Yeah, that one. No, a little bit down. Yep, that one.
This one?
Claro white PNG.
Okay.
Strange. Oh no, I have, oh, I'm mistaken, sorry. Mixed it up. Thought I have.
Maybe double Claro is the one you wanted.
No, double Claro is twice Claro.
Okay.
Then I could also paste the screenshot for a one card. But the problem is, no, I remember I haven't created one because there isn't the possibility that a single card is used. But if you take, for example, a full screen on a 27-inch screen, and if you take into consideration how broad two cards already are, then imagine the screen space for a single card. For that, it's huge. Yeah, that I now remember. I called it Claro White. It was full screen on a 27-inch.
Okay, Antonia?
There is, sorry, what happened, Tony?
Oh, I'll be quick. I like double Claro much more than the idea of full screen Claro. But right now I'm wondering how Benji's suggestion would look like with the text card. Is there anywhere else where we have such a pattern that we could look at? Maybe Christina knows.
I just shared the link to the design system where we have the full width design already in there. It's not a card thought for showing two themes or one theme or extra information in there. It's just basic information. So this one in here is this one here is the one that is it's control plus, and you should be able to choose or zoom 100%. Yeah. Click on my head, in my head at the top of the page, and you will see what I'm seeing. And I'm gonna navigate for you through in the file. Yeah. So this is the design that we created at well, like 1 year or so ago when we refreshed the appearance page. This is basically an option for the card when it has to be full width. It doesn't have into account extra information, as I was saying, which like for example, if it's the admin theme or if it's a version like, I don't know, extra information, it's not taken into account here. So that's the extra work that needs to be done. Meaning that what I was saying about the design, there is already some work done on the design side. So probably anybody wants to jump and design something, it could be good to do that with work that is already been done.
Okay, we're getting near the end of the hour. I think we have a few concrete follow-ups. We should rescope the issue for designing the cards, as we've discussed. And maybe we should also break up the layout issue into something that's a step in the right direction and further design. Any other closing comments? I see that the people who joined us from NetCamp have dropped off. So we're down to just the regulars.
I imagine, was that a scheduling issue or not? You know, we didn't scare them off.
Well, Donna did say thanks for a great call as in the chat as she left.
Oh, good. Good.
I think they did not seem shy. So I don't think we have to worry about that. But well, thank you all for coming. And for those of us in the US, next week will be the day after Thanksgiving, and we may be a little groggy from all the food we've eaten, but I am still planning to be here. And I guess that's just a little bit of local color for those of you who are not in the US.
Thanks, Benji. Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Thanks, everybody.
And enjoy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.